Hello dear students, welcome to Bajirao Ias Academy interview guidance program. So in this particular lecture we are going to discuss about India-Russia relations in a detailed manner. So if you know, if you regularly follow news, recently India's external affairs minister S. Jaishankar had a visit to Russia. So he discussed the bilateral issues and global issues with his counterpart, and also he also met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. So in this context we will understand the growing relations or expansion of India-Russia partnership. Now if you understand, India-Russia are considered as all-weather friends, and we have been enjoying special and privileged strategic partnership. So that has been rooted since the times of Cold War, because in the year 1971 we have signed peace and friendship treaty with USSR. Okay, so therefore in this context it is very important that we have to understand the expanding relations between India and Russia. And if you understand India's growing ties with Russia, now for India's energy security also, Russia has become one of the key pillar, because we have invested heavily in Russian Far East, which is a region with enormous energy resources. So apart from that, India's United Nations Security Council a permanent membership has been constantly supported by Russia. So therefore in this context we will understand the growing ties between India and Russia. So as I have already told you that recently Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had a visit to Russia. Okay, so therefore in this context it is very important and significant for us to understand the India-Russia relations, because now these relations started expanding beyond the special and privileged strategic partnership. Now if you understand the evolving geopolitical landscape or existing geopolitics at the global level, it is moving towards either multipolarity or a bipolar world. Okay, because US on the other side and China on the other side. So therefore in this context the rising powers, the emerging nations like Russia, India, and these countries' relations are defining in the 21st century. So therefore the evolving global geopolitics or geopolitical landscape at a high level of political engagement on international issues and bilateral matters is expected. Okay, so therefore in this context relations between India and Russia are very important and significant in changing geopolitical landscape. So in this context we have to understand why relationship between India and Russia is strategically important. So there are a set of reasons for that. Firstly, we need to understand that Russia and India are time-tested partners or all-weather friends. So all-weather friends, it effectively means that each nation comes in aid of other nation whenever the other nation is in crisis. So because of this reason they are called as time-tested friends. So first and foremost we need to talk about collaboration between India and Russia during the Cold War times. We all know that after Second World War till the disintegration of USSR, the period is known as Cold War. So if you look at India's engagement with Russia or the former USSR during Cold War times, it is one of the most defining partnerships or most defining collaborations, because during the Cold War times Soviet Union was considered as superpower. So it was considered as a superpower, and it used it used to consider US led coalition as rival. So therefore it held a key position in partnership, while India is actually part of developing nations. Now, if you look at India's overall foreign policy objective during the Cold War times, it was revolved around non-alignment. So India will not be part of any camps, either USSR or the other bloc. Rather, it will follow the policy of non-alignment. Okay, so therefore India was leader of non-aligned movement at that time. So even though India is not part of any bloc, any security alliance, India started collaborating closely with USSR during the times of Cold War. And the major treaty or most important treaty that has transformed India-Russia relations is the Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty of 1971. So this treaty was signed in 1971, and this treaty has helped India to protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity from external sources or other states. Okay, so during the India-Pakistan War of 1971. So in the wake of this Indo-Pak War of 1971, Russia had actually supported India, while US and China supported Pakistan. So therefore, in this context, this treaty has transformed the relations between these two countries, and this treaty has also generated a lot of goodwill among Indians about Russia. So third aspect would be declaration on the Indo-Russia strategic partnership. So now we have special and privileged strategic partnership with Russia. However, the first strategic partnership between India and Russia was actually started in the year 2000. Okay, so India-Russia relations or ties have acquired qualitatively new character and enhanced levels of cooperation in almost all areas of bilateral relationship. So this effectively means that India-Russia bilateral relations have transformed and acquired a qualitatively new character. For example, in the area of defense, space, technology, culture, trade, commerce, energy security, in all these fields, India-Russia relations have further expanded. Okay, so we need to talk about the special and privileged strategic partnership between these two countries. So earlier we have just strategic partnership, but this strategic partnership has further expanded to the special and privileged strategic partnership during the visit of Russian President to India on December 2010. Okay, so this strategic partnership was elevated to the level of special and privileged strategic partnership. So this effectively involves more close collaboration, cooperation in the areas of defense, space, commerce and security. Okay, so this is the brief background between India and Russia relations. So here you have to understand India's collaboration with USSR or former USSR or Russia during Cold War times, and Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty of 1971, and third, strategic partnership with Russia in the year 2000, and special and privileged strategic partnership with Russia during the visit of Russian President Vladimir Putin during 2010. Okay, so these are very important and defining moments in India-Russia relations. Now in this context, we have to understand why the relationship between India and Russia are strategically important, right? So why the strategic relations or relations between India and Russia are very important. So first and foremost is energy security. Recently, if you know that because of Western sanctions on Russia, so all the European countries and other major countries have started importing oil from Middle East. So since India has also significantly dependent on Middle East for its oil imports, so that has led to a significant increase in oil prices. So India is a country which has been importing around 85% of its oil requirements from Middle East, or it has dependent on imports heavily. So therefore, in this context, Russia has provided cheap oil for India. So Russia has become an alternate source of oil for India. So despite facing all the pressure from west. So India has started importing oil from west, so that importing oil from Russia, so that has enabled India to meet its energy requirements, and at the same time it helps India to control inflation. So therefore Russia possesses one of the global's largest reserves of natural gas. Okay, so not just natural gas, but also it is having other fossil fuels. And now if you look at India's energy transition framework, so India has also started making rapid transition from renewables to from non-renewables or conventional fuels to non-conventional renewable fuels such as natural gas, wind and solar, biofuel energy. So therefore in this context, importing natural gas from Russia will help India meet its obligations, the climate obligations, and at the same time it helps India to make a rapid transition towards a greener economy. And after that, if you understand the India-Russia nuclear cooperation, so Russia is very often active supporter of India's peaceful use of nuclear energy. So therefore in this context, in joint cooperation between India and Russia, Kudankulam nuclear power plant in Tamil Nadu was established. So Russia has provided technical assistance for this Kudankulam nuclear power plant. Now if you understand the economic convergence between these two countries, so Russia is one of the largest trading partners for India. It is the 7th biggest trading partner for India. And if you understand the bilateral trade between India and Russia, it has reached US dollars around 45 billion US dollars. Okay, so the overall bilateral trade between India and Russia. So however, during pandemic times, even after pandemic times, the bilateral trade between India and Russia is at very low levels compared to Russia and China. So however, the bilateral trade of 45 billion has already surpassed the bilateral trade of US dollars 30 billion by 2025. Okay, so earlier we used to have a target of $30 billion of bilateral trade by the year 2025. So now we have reached the bilateral trade of 45 billion. And after that, we need to talk about balancing geopolitics as well. Okay, so this is also another dimension of India-Russia relations. So when we talk about the balancing geopolitics, both India and Russia are champions of multipolarism. Okay, so what does it mean when we say that the world is multipolar or multipolarity? Now multipolarity means there are multiple poles across the globe. So there's no one center of power, and the entire global order revolves around one such power, similar to US when after the disintegration of USSR or end of the Cold War. So therefore in the sense, the champions of multipolarism or multipolarity actually means that there would be multiple poles, multiple centers of powers across the globe. So therefore in this context, both India and Russia support the concept of multipolar world. Okay, for example, in the region India is a pole, and and in Western Europe Russia is a major center of power. So therefore this is what multipolarity is actually, and it actually suits rising Russia, which aspires to recover the great power status. So earlier Russia used to enjoy a great power status. Now Russia is considered as a rising power, and it is also aspiring to recover the great power status. And apart from rising Russia, so India is also an emerging nation. Okay, India is also considered as a middle power, and it also has aspirations to become a superpower or a leading power. So therefore in this context, both these countries are champions of multipolarity, and in fact Russia is a major supporter of India's bid to permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council. Okay, so and both India Russia relations will further strengthen India's positions at the global level. Okay, so this is about the geopolitical engagement or geopolitical benefits for both these countries when they engage with each other, and the economic convergence they have, and energy security. And apart from that, we need to talk about the defense cooperation between both these countries, defense or security partnership. So this is also one of the defining area between India and Russia. So because majority of our arms and ammunition are imported from Russia, okay, so they are Russian origin. For example, India recently spent around 3 billion US dollars on importing S-400 missile defense system. Apart from that, India and Russia are jointly manufacturing BrahMos missiles. So therefore, in this context, defense and security cooperation between these two countries is one of the most defining partnerships. So in this context, we have to understand certain key issues also between India and Russia. So what are those key issues? The first and foremost key issue is Russia's closer ties with China. Okay, so if you understand Russia's engagement with China, it is, Russia has become more and more closer to China, especially after Western sanctions on Russia. Because when West imposed sanctions on Russia, Russia has started depending more and more on China. So this has led to the growing closeness between Russia and China. So both these countries have enhanced their military cooperation, and they also engage in joint economic initiatives. Okay, so if you understand, Russia is part of China's BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, and Russia has also invested heavily in Russia's Far East. So that is a region with energy resources or natural gas resources. So therefore, it has led to alignment of Russia and China on various fronts. So it introduces a geopolitical dynamic that may impact India's traditional strategic considerations. Now, growing closeness between Russia and India, Russia and China will not be in the best interest of India. Okay, so that may impact India's traditional strategic considerations as well. So after that, we need to talk about Russia's growing proximity with Pakistan. So in recent times, Russia has started improving its relationship with Pakistan. So this is primarily because growing India's closeness with US, and in order to balance this, Russia has started improving its ties or relations with Pakistan. So therefore, this is particularly because of US-India relationship, growing US-India relationship, as I have already told you. So apart from that, there is also the other major challenge is diplomatic dilemma for India. Okay, so security engagement with the United States. So this is also because very often Russia has a conflictual and not a good relationship with US. So therefore, in this context, India's growing closeness and security engagement with US, and even recently India had spent around $20 billion to import arms and ammunition from US. So therefore, India has also signed 4 foundational agreements with USA, for example, logistics exchange and memorandum of understanding, and even the agreement called BACA and COMCOSA, everything. So therefore, in this context, this has also led to some issues, some rift between India and Russia. So after that, India's power calculations create a dilemma to choose between comprehensive global strategic partnership with US. Now, if you understand India's engagement or India's partnership with US, India has comprehensive global strategic partnership. Okay, so however, with Russia, we have special and privileged strategic partnership. So therefore, it is a dilemma and as well as a tight diplomatic rope walk for India to choose between US and Russia. So however, in this context, India's diplomacy is largely successful in balancing its relations with both US and Russia. Okay, so because it has maintained good relations with both of these countries. So in this context, if we talk about the way forward between India and Russia relations, first we need to talk about enhancing the defense collaboration between India and Russia. So this is what we have to think about. Okay, so defense collaboration or security cooperation between these two countries are very important, particularly because India has a lot of threats. For example, terrorism, and even India has located in complex neighborhood, and India's northern neighbor has nuclear weapons, and even the western neighbor also is a nuclear power. So therefore defense collaboration is very important for India and Russia. Okay, so continue the strategic defense partnership. So India should continue the strategic defense partnership with Russia. However, the focus should be on modernizing and diversifying the defense collaboration. Okay, so that effectively means that investing in research, innovation and technology. So with the focus of modernizing and diversifying the defense collaboration. And after that we need to talk about joint military production as well. So what does it mean when we say joint military production? For example, BrahMos is an example of joint military production between India and Russia. Okay, so therefore the two countries should go ahead and cooperate on this front as well. Okay, for example, India has a vast production base and Russia has the necessary and relevant technology to produce various defense related equipment. So therefore in this context, India-Russia joint military production is very important. Okay, so after that the economic cooperation is also a very important dimension between India and Russia. Okay, so the existing economic cooperation or economic engagement should be further diversified. So both countries should focus on diversifying and expanding their economic relations. Okay, so that effectively means that the economic cooperation should extend to new areas and new sectors as well. So if you look at Russia providing access to Indian goods, it is very limited, and that is also another major factor major factor that has been limiting the bilateral trade between these two countries. So therefore in this context, both countries, both Russia and India, should work towards reducing trade barriers and simplifying the trade process as well. Now recently there was a mechanism which is on cards, that is rupee ruble mechanism as well. Now because West has imposed sanctions on Russia, so therefore India cannot pay Russia in dollars. So therefore in this context, rupee ruble mechanism has also thought by both these countries. So both sides need to resort to rupee ruble mechanism to safeguard the bilateral trade from the West led sanctions. So in fact, India and Russia are members of BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization grouping. So therefore they are also thinking about a BRICS currency to further strengthen the intra-BRICS trade and also make an attempt to de-dollarization of the global economy. So therefore in this context, it is very important to think about rupee ruble mechanism or any other BRICS currency to further expand or enhance trade between both of these countries. And energy security is also another major dimension. Since India has a lot of stakes in Russia's Far East, energy security is also very important because India's energy demand will grow going ahead. Okay, so according to International Energy Agency estimates. So apart from that, India and Russia should also collaborate on anti-terrorism or counter-terrorism. So particularly through the RATS mechanism, okay, so of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, so RATS is Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure. Okay, so these are the major areas between India and Russia's cooperation. So however, so India's engagement or cooperation with Russia is fruitful, and both these countries are trusted and all weather partners. So India is a major supporter of India's UNSC membership as well. Since India is also since Russia is a major UNSC permanent member, so Russia's close cooperation with India is also very important for us. So therefore that's all about India Russia ties. And recent our external affairs minister S Jaishankar's visit to Russia. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you like the video, please like it, and also comment your suggestions and any doubts in the comment section, okay, so that we can answer those queries. Thank you.